The second question we got this week when I asked people to send in their questions, they wanted me to answer, was from Stephanie Monroe Hazel. She says, we recently had to put down our 14-year-old lab Sputnik and have been following you ever since in hopes to bring one of your babies home this coming year. One of the questions I would like to see talked about is the best way to bring a new puppy into the household to nurture the calm nature of your labs. Sputnik was always very exuberant with life and didn't actually calm down until he was around 11 years old. I know breeding plays a great deal in this, but I want to make sure we do all the proper things we can to bring a new baby into our life and to not overstimulate them as they grow up in the first few months. Great question. One of the things I hear over and over again as I talk to people, especially about their experiences with prior labs, is that the dog doesn't calm down until they're 5, 6, 7, this dog 11 years old. That's really all about temperament and breeding. If your breeder isn't prioritizing temperament as number one, just don't go that way. One of the really cool things I see in my puppies is when they're young, I mean, we're talking 8 to 14 weeks old, they'll start acting, looking like this little grown-up dog, laying on the floor, looking at me intently, just being calm, and you can just see their thinking. That is nature. And that is something that is bred into a dog. You can ruin that, though, in a day. So we're gonna talk a little bit today about nature versus nurture. I can do everything in my power and have all of the last 30 years of creating this bloodline that has this predictable, wonderful, laid-back temperament. But if it gets into a household, especially a household that's high energy, and I've seen it, I've seen one of my dogs in particular go to a household like that, and I had the sibling to that dog who was raised in our house. Totally different, and the people were like, how comes your dog is so mellow and everything? And then when I went to their house and I visited them, I noticed that they were yelling loudly at the dog all the time. Everybody in the house was yelling. There was a lot of energy. The dogs pick up on that. Now, the good thing is if you've got a dog that's already got a really good temperament, it's probably gonna be a little bit more adjustable to that. But I wanna make sure that when people go home with their dog, they reinforce that really calm, gentle temperament that's there. Temperament is across the board. People ask me, what's the temperament of that puppy? Which one is the best temperament in that litter? And I always say, they all have great temperaments, but they all have their own specific personality, just like people. So that's one of my jobs as a breeder, is to connect personalities with the family. If they're a really high energy family, they may not want a little puppy, sits over by itself and plays by itself. They may want the one that can kind of keep up with all those kids with high energy. Or the mom might say, hey, I've got lots of energy, I want the really low key dog. But one of the things that I've always done, and if I had a puppy right here in my hands, I would show you, is I'll play with the puppies, but I play really gently. So we'll play tug of war, but the worst thing you could do is take a puppy home and just be like, "Arr, arr," roughing it up. That is the worst thing you can do to a puppy. I will play with a puppy and we'll have fun and we'll roll around, and then I'll pick it up, I'll turn it over on its back and I'll cuddle it until it relaxes. I make it relax. Then I put it back down, we'll play a little bit. Then we stop and pick up the puppy, wait till it relaxes, hold it. That's really important. And that's just also enforcing what's already in my Labradors, meaning they have a switch. They are not on one energy level all the time. When you want to play, they're going to be fun, they're going to engage with you. When it's time to lay down, be quiet, they'll switch into that mode. So it's really important to just make sure that you're keeping that going as you go home. Make sure your kids are not playing wild with the dog. Make sure they're not terrorizing that dog. Make sure they're not bullying that dog. I don't mean to offend you, but there's a lot of things that go on with kids that just happen because they don't know. They're just ignorant of how to interact with dogs, and they might interact with them like they would their kid brother or their neighbor kid. But dogs are really, really sensitive, and they're little babies when you take them home, and they're really impressionable. So make sure that your children play really gently, don't overtire the puppy, and that they cuddle it and make it into just the really sweet, gentle Endless Mountain Labrador that we know and expect that your dog's gonna be.